Hello and welcome to Arts and Wellness Café. I'm Amanda and I'm so glad that you could join me here today. How are you doing? In the very beginning, I used to give you a bit of time to think about that, and it's important that we do think about that because we often rush about on our day-to-day and we don't think about how we're feeling, we don't think about how we're doing. You know, what's going on with you right at this minute. If you were to express how you were feeling, what you were thinking, and what you were feeling physically, what would you say? Yes, I'm going to give you a moment. And then a moment to breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in again. And hold that breath for 3, 2, 1. Then release. Notice the sounds. What can you hear? And it would be that just at that moment my son decides to play his music, which I don't know whether you can hear it. If you can, then today it probably sounds like the that film Fame. Like everybody, like my husband's teaching his grandson to play the piano, so he's there on the piano, and then Sakani, I don't know what he's doing in the kitchen, but he's playing his music. And we're in here, so everybody, this is the creative arts, and they've got the music department over over in that area. So try and do that on a regular basis, if not every day. Try and do it every day, just to gather yourself, just to think about what it is you're thinking, feeling at that moment. And you know, it's a good idea to even do that and then write in your journal, so that you've got a kind of a pit stop, and then you write and you express how you're feeling or express what's going on. So as I say, it's important that you do that, and it's a great way to reconnect and connect with ourselves, because if you're flying here and there and doing this and that, and you know, deadlines and meetings or whatever your day is filled with, unless you schedule time for yourself, unless you have that time, and that's something that you're unwavering, that you don't put anything else in that time, then I'm pretty sure that you're not spending enough time just being still, centering yourself, reconnecting with yourself. So as I say, that's a great thing, a lovely thing that you can do for yourself on a daily basis, and I would prescribe a daily a daily dose of that. So the word for today, for this week, is intrigued, and I didn't touch on it this week in my podcast. I was taking some much needed time out, and I think across the board I felt I needed to just sit back and take stock of what I was doing. And again, that's something I think you need to do on a regular basis, just to see where you are and to see how, you know, things are going for you. Is this working for you, or do you need to change that up? Do you need to stop something? Do you need to revive something? Like at the moment, I've got this, I haven't done much textiles. I did a textile piece for my bonus lesson on Lifebook, and I'm itching to get back to doing some more things. It's just other things have taken place, and the only thing that I kind of did since then is these little strips. So they were just bits of fabric that were left over, and I put them on a strip that are either going to be hand sewn or machine sewn. But I think I'll probably hand stitch because I'm feeling it. Yeah, it's small enough that, you know, you can get back into the swing of things, but it's not so big that, you know, you think, okay, I'm not going to finish this within like a sitting or two. So I've got these that are just sitting there saying, oh, when are you going to stitch us? You know, is it today? It might be today, who knows. So yeah, the word is intrigued, and what I think about when I say that word to myself is that there's something that's behind it that you really want, or you want to know more about it. There's something about, like when I think about a piece of art, so there's something about that piece of art or an artist that I want to know more about. There's just something that sparked my interest. It touched something within me that makes me want to know more. So I find that with artists who say use fabric within their work. So anytime I see fabric pieces, I want to know more about that. I want to know, you know, more about the artist and the kind of work they do. And I did that today. There was an artist that I saw one of her pieces, and then that deep dived me into you know, I looked up her website, I looked up all the different types of work that she did. This was just an example of one of the types of work that she did, and it was just really interesting to see her processes and the other types of work that she does. So I hope that when I think about my own work, that you see the layers and the depth within it, that you see the story, you see a story that makes you think, oh, I wonder what that's about. And then as you look at the image, you're seeing different things that might trigger either a memory, a conversation, you know, whatever it is, or a colour or a texture that, you know, makes you think, oh, I wonder. And or makes you think, oh, I really want to work with. I want to work with this particular material or that particular material. I mean, there are artists that their style is so, like, I guess you would call it folk art. And like, yeah, folk art. I mean, she does call herself a folk artist. So the artist that I'm thinking of at the moment is Mistel. And I remember when I first saw her work, and it was just like, oh, I wonder, you know, it was just like, I hadn't seen work like that before. And I consumed every single YouTube video that she had. It was just like, I just loved watching her create these characters and the stories behind them. And then I took a couple of her classes, and she opened me up to, there was a class she did called Gut Art, and it was, you know, she created a background and then she pulled these images out, and I was just like, oh my gosh, I've just found my, you know, when we think about as artists, we want to find our style, or creatives. Yeah, when I came across Mistel and this gut art, it was just like, it made sense of the things that I would see growing up as a child. Like my mother had really patterned, we had patterned wallpaper, so in the 70s, so we had patterned wallpaper, and then the curtains were always very patterned, and I would always see images in them. But I just thought everybody did, so it wasn't something that I verbalised. My sister, by that time, I think, had gone on to university, so it was just myself and my brother, and he could see them, so I just thought everybody else could. And Mistel was the first person I came across as an artist who expressed that in her work. And it was just, and that's just uncovered a whole way of working for me, because, and since then I've gone on to create, you know, I work with sculpture, fabric, painting, but when I'm working in my art journals, and the way I approach my work is that I'm looking for the image that wants to come out. There's always something, when you lay papers down, and if you look at some of my I'm just trying to think which one. If you look at some of the recent videos that I've done on YouTube, you will see that there's a point where you're adding the background, and then you can maybe see this kind of shape and the neck, or I usually see the bottom part of the face, and the lips, the nose, the eyes. They're always there, and maybe the shoulders. And sometimes I put my figures. They're either at a beach with the sea behind them, or on a boat or there's mountains behind them, boats, or there's just a background. It's just background. And some of my gratitudes characters, they were really interesting characters, and so I'm intrigued about myself. I find when I allow myself to let go, because you can find yourself, sometimes it doesn't matter how far you've come, you can sometimes still have doubts about, so sometimes I still question myself and, my process, or, where I think I am is different from where somebody looking at me and thinking that, oh, well, she's there, or whatever. And, you can sometimes always have, sometimes, you still question yourself, and so are you calling yourself an artist? Yes, I'm an artist. So you have these conversations. Yes, I'm an artist. I create, and my particular position right now can't be compared to somebody else's, because they've had a different journey, experiences, or whatever. So think about that word, and think about yourself as a creative, and whether there are parts of you that you have been holding back on because you thought, oh, people wouldn't understand. But maybe it's that you should try and express that in your art. Maybe there's things that you want to say as a person that you don't know how to verbalize, but you can create a painting or create something in fabric that would really express the very thing that you want to express, and that can really help somebody else. There are so many ways in which we can use our art to be helpful, and tools for expression, and look at what other people are doing. Like if you're lost for, say, ideas, it may be that you start looking at other artists. Take time to look at other artists, and a great way to do that, I think you can try it, like, if budget is an issue, you just Google them, but you can go on to things like, well, Lifebook. Tam was running free taster sessions, and she's extended it for a week until the 17th of October. So you've got 30 teachers who've all done a session. You can look at their work, you can look at the work, examples of their work, you can look at examples of the course they did, you can take the session, and you can say, you're trying something different. Or you can, what really interests me as well is, I was going to say photography, but then, see, I was holding myself back, so I was being shy about saying that, and that's a very good example of how we hold ourselves back from something that we do and enjoy. So I enjoy taking photographs. I take photographs practically every day, if not of work that I've done, ideas. I go out in my garden, I take a lot of photographs of sceneries, and they're all inspiration. So I've got thousands of images, and thank goodness for digital, because I wouldn't be able to afford to have them developed if it was still on if you're not young, you're not old enough to remember, the photographic film, and it'd come in 35 and then you get it developed. And I remember loads of times where only 7 out of the 35 were in focus of whatever I was taking. So it may be that you look at photographers and see what kind of images that they're taking, or any aspect of poetry. I love poetry as well. So photography, poetry, I love sculpture, working with fabric, painting, working in art journals, writing generally, and it's don't allow anything to hold you back from sharing. I mean, it could be just to family and friends. You might not be on social media, but there are people who can relate to you that are in different corners of the world. So it may be that you try one platform and see how you get on. So we're now going to take a break, and we're going to do an art journal page, and I hope you enjoy, and I hope you take out your art journal, or take out your art journal and express yourself with some supplies and see how you get on. Hello and welcome to the page. Welcome. What I wanted to do was I've got this art journal. You would have seen me share it on my 52 weeks of art journals, and I created a page, and I explained that what I've done on some of these pages is use oil pastels on the page. Now, I did this page and I etched into it, and it didn't feel complete, and it still doesn't. So I'm going to do some work on this page and I'll show you how. I'll show you how I've not yet decided what I want to do. I've got some gesso here, and I'm just going to go in and see how I feel. See what comes up. So okay, so yeah, as I said, this is oil pastels. I have previously on the page created lots of texture. So one of the things you will see on this page is quite a large amount of texture, and I'm adding the gesso so that I can, if I want to add paint, I'll be able to do that. And I'm just adding a thin layer because I do like some of the, I actually like that colour actually. I do like some of the shapes that are coming out, and they were created using stencils and gesso. So that's how the page started out, with stencils, gesso, and I just built on the page and then added the oil pastels. But I'm not feeling it right now, so I'm just gonna go over some of the bits and, as I say, add gesso to it, and that'll allow me, I can still go over it with pastels, but I might just choose to add some different types of paint or not. We'll see how we go. it is again. I wanted to work with this. So this, as I said, worked with oil pastels, and I prepped the surface using gesso first. But what you saw is me making changes. So sometimes I will create an image and I'm playing and it's not yet finished, or yeah, it's not yet finished, and then come back and think, oh, okay, I either want to clarify some areas or I want to change it altogether. So I leave myself room to do that in different journals. So for me, the journals each have a different use and a different purpose that sits with me. So get ready. She's telling us to get ready. And what I also like about this is the texture on the page. So that was that one, and then etching into it. So it's always fun to etch, to not only etch into, well, that's what I've been doing with oil pastels, because I never used to like oil pastels, and I never used to use the oil paints. I have oil paints, but I find that the traditional ones are the fumes, and I have some water-soluble oil paints, which I've got a painting over there that's due to be finished. But with the oil pastels, because I had them, it was just like, what are you going to do with them? I didn't talk to myself like that, but it was, what are you going to do with them? Don't you want to, you know, why don't you have a little play around? And so I started playing in my art journal, but laying down, I found laying down, and this is not moving, you know, it's not moving or coming up or, yeah, so I really like it. I really like it. Oh, do you know what I put on this as well? I think I put a gel, so there's gel medium on that as well. But so these are little messages for myself to get ready, because, you know, change is coming. Get ready, for a change is coming. So I hope that you enjoyed that, and I hope you play around. I'm gonna maybe do a couple more tutorials on the way I use the oil pastels in an art journal and how I would create images from them. And I use like one of those blending stumps. It's my little blending stump that I use with the oils. And I use these with pastels as well. Yeah, so I do like working with pastels, but I don't like the dust on my fingers. I just don't like that feel. I can get to a point where I'm in the flow of the work, and I'm using my fingers, but I mostly use blending stumps. But then there comes a time where it's just like, you need to wash your hands. It's just like, put some cream on your hands. It's just like, you need to, and it's that kind of, it's like a feeling. Anyway, so we're continuing to think about the word intrigued, and we're continuing to think about our work. And just as I was talking to you earlier about how you can create an image, so this image came from, the way the image came on the page was through the creating a background. So I created the background, and then I started seeing the shape of her face, and that she's kind of turned like that. She's turned off to the side, but she's actually facing forward. So it's great to be able to just, it's like, you know how you can strengthen your ear, you're strengthening your eye, and you're tuning in. That's all I can say. Yeah. So we've got a book. to review. It's not, where should I put it? The book that we're reviewing is called Journal Bliss by Violetta, and it's a really fun book, and yeah, we're just going to go into that now. Journal Bliss by Violette. So let's take a look at Journal Bliss. The thing I like about Journal Bliss and that attracted me was the actual imagery and the drawings that she actually creates throughout, and it's almost as if she's handwritten quite a lot of the pages as well. It's we have the introduction in terms of the content, silencing your inner critic. So there's 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 actual chapters, and then it talks about you learn a bit more about Violet and her work, and it goes through, as I say, it's very colourful, a very bright book. This is a nice book for you to work through and to come up with additional ideas. So silencing your inner critic. We all have an inner critic. Some of us have different ways of doing it, and so she gives you examples and things that you can do to recognize what things the inner critic is saying, but also to work around them. And working in your journal kind of give you some affirmations that you can start working in your journal. So the fanciful lettering is something that I come back to time and time again, because I'm not necessarily keen on my own handwriting in terms of journals, and so I always find it's nice to kind of get some ideas as to, you know, some swirls you can put on, or some ways. These are like some great examples of ways you can write in your journal and create lovely journal pages. And as you can see, you can see throughout, these are examples of her journal pages that you can say, maybe let me try this technique and see how you get on, using wavy lines, using different you know, capitals as well as smaller letters to create wording. Borders, so again, examples of borders that you can create for yourself, or you can trace these if you think, you know, okay, well, I can't think of what to do, let me trace these. That's some like background paper actually, so you can create a background paper like that. So it's got a great range of ideas, doodles, drawing, flourishes, faces, backgrounds, creating background pages. I love creating background pages, and so she gives you different textures, different materials that you can use, writing on the backgrounds. Look at this, the fullness of this texture. We've got stamping here, we've got swirls, we've got newspaper print collage, we've got printed paper as well, we've got tissue paper all over it. So it's nice to be able to play and work through, and it's all about focusing on the journey. We have a gratitude journal page. You can make a gratitude journal page, things that you're grateful for. It's always good to think about that kind of thing. It talks, you know, a little bit more about her family, her children, telling stories, the way that we can tell stories about our lives using our journal. Thinking about questions that we could perhaps ask ourselves. Self-portraits. What do you see? What would you say to your younger self? What would you say to your older self? And self-care, meditation, the importance of reflection and taking time out. And then we find out a bit about her cottage and a bit about herself, but it's still filled with, you know, equally as, you know, some nice exercises and things that you can try. Yeah, so that's a fun book. It's got so many different examples, so if you're new to art journaling, you can pick up some tips in there. So that's Journal Bliss, and I'll leave the link so that if you want to find out more information, you can. It's on Amazon. And yeah, So, right, so what's the tip for the week then? The tip for the week is sometimes if you want to be creative, why not just spend time clearing up where you are? Now, you don't have to go into a deep clean where everything is pulled out or whatever. Sometimes what I do is just like, I've got stuff out on my desk, I've got several journals out, so what I might do is just put things back where they need to go. If you have a place for everything and everything in its place, it's easier to tidy up. So if you're not feeling like, oh, you know, I don't necessarily feel like art journaling or, you know, painting or whatever it is, tidy up your supplies, and sometimes that will give you the kind of jump start that you need. So cleaning is a very good thing to do, and it reconnects you. Like, more recently I was I did a project which used Pro marker pens, and I've got some other water alcohol pens, and I hadn't used these for years. Now, I was very lucky that out of the 150 pens that I've got, and these are a whole different set, so I'm not even including these ones, that only about 3 had dried up. And it was just like, you've had them for so long sitting, they're sitting in this corner here. I'm just seeing if you can see my so they're sitting in this corner here, and it was just like, why didn't I use these before? You know, I've used them. I use them when usually when I'm creating images. So this was the last image I created, and so just using the alcohol pens and just playing around, but as I say, only about 3 of them have stopped working, and I was just like, oh, thank goodness, because I remember buying them. And I felt this kind of, it was like, it was not, oh yeah, I'd like to try that. It was like, I need them. I brought us like a set of 6, and it was just like, I need all of the colour range. And so yeah, I brought them. So what I spent time doing was some colour swatches, because I've never done any colour swatches, and with the Pro marker pens, and then I did it with my other pens, and you can see I put them away a bit better up there, so they're now in their colour groups. So tidying up, it's like, okay, so how did you get from cleaning to swatches? But tidying up, that's something I realised that when I wasn't feeling like launching into an activity, the kind of activity that was fine for me at that particular moment was doing some swatches. And then I realised how quite comfortable it was. I quite enjoyed it. So I thought, oh look, you've got all your supplies you've never done any swatches of. I've done a few, some of my Derwents. I haven't done my Inktense pencils yet. That's going to be a joy, because I love the vibrancy of my pencils. Anyway, so that's the tip for the week. Cleaning. So start cleaning your area, and that leads into the question of the week. So the question of the week is to think of a gift that you have within you. So, oh yes, yeah, I got a pair of gloves for Christmas. So it's not that kind of gift, you know. Think of a gift that you have. So whether you see it as, you know, creating or cooking or whatever it is, and think about whether you actually really use it. You could be sitting on your gifts, and I may have covered this in one of the other Arts and Wellness cafes, but it's an important point. We sit on so many different gifts that, you know, we're just operating at, say, 10%. and that's being generous. So you don't have to do everything all the time, but the gifts that you have within you are an expression of who you are. And so they're meant to be shared. It's a gift to you so that you can share it with the world. Yes? So you can't be sitting on your gifts. You can't be sitting on them. If you want to try, so if like you said to yourself, I really want to try this, you know, I really wanted to try, for me, I really want to try working with textiles. And when I did, I realized that was one of my gifts. I love expressing myself using textiles. I don't give myself enough of an opportunity to work with them, and that's why I say I'm itching to work with it. I've got pieces that I need to finish, that I want to finish, and so it's to encourage you to start using those gifts. So I think to encourage you to use those gifts, like I love making art journals. I love making art journals from different supplies. It wasn't until I saw, her name's Tisha Moore, an artist, Tisha Moore, and she did, she usually works with, you know, like cutting out characters from magazines and creating imageries and then doodling on them. And then I saw her make a fabric. She was the first person I saw make a fabric art journal. And I was just like, oh my gosh. And so since then I've just been, you know, I love making journals, not only from fabric or like from paper and card, but I will make it from whatever I can get my hands on. Like, you know, there's a CD here, card, buttons, elements. That's just one of them. I think you're yet to see this one. You might be seeing this on Friday, I'm not sure, or whether you've seen it already. I'm not sure anyway. But yeah, I love making journals and using different making them from different things. I mean, look at the texture on this. Look at that. That's using gesso and stencil and then painting it. So, but it wasn't until I, you know, either took a class or allowed myself to experiment, took a class or saw somebody sharing their work on, you know, one of the platforms, that I then thought, oh my gosh, I really love doing that. So what gifts, think of a gift, you might think of several gifts that you're saying to yourself, do you know what, I haven't been using that, or I want to take a course to help me hone that gift, hone the talent, the skill, the ability, you know. And some things you just, it just comes naturally. So there are people that, you know, find that, I mean, I was never taught to work with beads, but when I see beads, I love working with beads, and I'll work with it in my own way, and pretty much use them in the way that I would say mark make on, or, you know, whether I mark make on a journal, or if I want to be more elaborate, then I will. Or if I'm feeling it, and in the sense that I'll say to myself sometimes, which I have got out of, but every now and again, there's a little fragment there that says you've got to finish that piece right now. You know, it's got to be finished today. And I will purposefully leave something in the middle and come back, because when you come back, you often see other things that you think, oh, I want to highlight that, or okay, I want to do something with that particular area. So, bringing everything together now. The word, intrigued, the art journal page, and I doodled a bit on it as well. I didn't doodle a bit, but she may want some doodling, but I just highlighted it with a bit of the white, and I might still go around the get ready, do something with that. But the book, Journal Bliss, you know, what, if you've seen the book, if you have the book, is there things in there that you think, oh yeah, I want to try, I want to revisit, in terms of your art journaling? and think of the tip for the week. You know, it could just be that you want to, you know, you need to clean up a bit, you need to tidy up, put things back. I mean, I was tidying up and I found, in tidying up my Pro Marker pens, my alcohol inks, I found all these painter's markers that I brought a whole thing for. So what I'm going to go through these and see. I used to love the gold. I've got loads of gold ones. Some haven't been opened, but again, if you have them for too long, they'll just dry up. So I'm not sure out of all of these how many are working. So that's another little task for me to do. So that's the cleaning up bit. And question of the week. So I'll repeat it again. What is the gift? Think of a gift and think about whether you're using it. So if you are, the gift that you've thought about, then that's fine. Think of another one that you may have. Are you using it? You need to be using your gifts, and you need to be sharing them out into the world, and find ways which suit you the best way you can. Or it could be your community, or it could be your neighbour, or it could be, you know, it could be that you show them how to do something. It could be that you start a little art workshop at your, you know, local day centre for the elderly, or you know, some of these after school clubs sometimes, you know, like they may be a visiting artist, or you go to your local library. Now, thinking about that and thinking about the situation that we're in, it may be that you offer that online, but it may be as things are opening up that you're able to offer that. Or, yeah, you know, start a YouTube channel and, you know, start sharing what you're doing, sharing what you're interested in, sharing your passion. And you'll find a community of people who want to share that passion with you. Okay, so join me again on Friday. We've got a new art journal that I'll be sharing with you, and an art journal page. So I look forward to seeing you then, and stay blessed and be a blessing. Take care.